observed in Nigeria as a country. In spite of all you have heard, so far the government in Nigeria and their conspirators would have the world believe the violence in Nigeria has nothing to do with religion. This, the government says, it is about or concerns climate change. It's about farmers and herders are clashing. But in actual fact, the crisis, the genocide in Nigeria, taking place in Nigeria right now has nothing to do with climate change, because climate change is not just a Nigerian problem. It is a global issue affecting many nations, and no nation in the world is killing her citizens to solve climate matters. So that was just to distract people from the real situation of what things are to happen. And the government made sure that this was the only narrative that was sold to the West, because everything was censored. Every amount of news was controlled in such a way that we had no voice. It is barely about 5 years ago that I had the privilege and opportunity of sharing with Aid to the Church in Need, ACN, that it became possible for my views and the interviews are granted to be translated into different languages, international languages, that people came to begin to know exactly what happened. But it will be good also to know the historical beginnings of this crisis. In 1989, what we call the Abuja Declaration, when the Islamic Brotherhood from Egypt gathered in Nigeria and said, one of the best ways of living a real life is for Nigeria to become an Islamic state of West Africa. And that is where we have the issue of ISWAP, Islamic State of West Africa. So every attempt, gradually and step by step, was made towards actualizing this. One of our former President Babangida, single-handedly, through the decree, because he was a military leader, registered Nigeria in the Organization of Islamic Conference, OIC, and thereby, officially, Nigeria became an Islamic state. But publicly it was not, but then they kept on with it. And a lot of these violence now started. Perpetrators of these acts come across men from far the northern part of Nigeria with Islamic extreme Muslim adherents. Their models were other Islamic terror groups operating in other climes, and all these groups have also professed allegiance to Islamist groups like ISIS and ISWAP. For years, the targeting of churches and Christian schools were the pattern of terror employed, making sure the population feels helpless, becomes hungry and destitute immediately, and illiterate and susceptible to conversion in the long term. And that was the whole aim of Boko Haram in the early 2000s. And Boko Haram simply means Western civilization is bad, is evil. And that led to the kidnap of over 200 Chibok girls, that many of them got converted. And up to this moment, the story of Leah Sharibu remains to be the point, because she refused to be converted to Islam, and she has not gained her freedom up to this moment. Whether she's alive, nobody knows. But all of those gays were married out to all those terrorists. Boko Haram came up, and when the world classified Boko Haram as a terrorist group, the world came to know, and it was targeted as such. But when President Muhammadu Buhari came to power in 2015, in 2016, he told the world that Boko Haram was technically defeated. That, till tomorrow, I don't know. what that means. And at that point, the world now became so free that Boko Haram was defeated. But then it was not. Boko Haram metamorphosed into various sects, like you have the bandits, the banditry, and then the Fulani terrorist herdsmen, plus Boko Haram. Three of these groups had the same agenda, had the same system of operation, and the same ideology, and all of them were working systematically to make sure they conquered Nigeria as an Islamic state. And Boko Haram occupied the northeastern part of Nigeria, while the bandits went to the northwestern part of Nigeria, and the Fulani terrorist herdsmen came to the north central, which is whereby I am going to talk more, because the north central is where Benue State and my diocese belongs. The north central has its states like Plateau State, Benue State, Nasarawa State, Kaduna, Kogi, and then I think Kwara states. All this belongs to the north central states. And these states are predominantly the Christian population, apart from, that is in the northern part of Nigeria, apart from the south, whereby the east is predominantly Christian. In the operations of the Fulani terrorist herdsmen who came to the north central part, the middle belt, they now move about with their cattle in the name of grazing. And that was whereby the government would say, there is farmers and herders are clashing. It wasn't farmers and herders clashing. It was a pure attempt and effort at displacing the indigenous communities of their lands and then taking over these properties. As I talk to you now, in Plateau State, many of the places they have driven the people out of those areas, they have conquered those areas, and they are changing the names of these villages to Arabic or Islamic names. In Benue State, they have forced a lot of people into the camp. Some have been killed. In 2018, which as at 2014, 2012, 2014, that was the epicenter of the crisis, which became like a warfare. In 2018, January 1st, a village was raided and 78 people were killed. The state government then gave the people a mass burial. April 22nd, 2018, 2 of my priests and 17 worshippers were killed during Mass. One of the priests is the classmate of your pastor, Father Theo Hwande, because he was working in the area and they came very early in the morning at Mass and then shot everybody dead, burnt down the village, and the people dispersed. We gave them a burial in May 22nd, and many of the bishops in Nigeria attended the burial. A lot of things took a different turn. And since 2018, every other day, there has been attacks, displacement, and the sacking of villages. Between 2018 and 2025, I, as a diocese of Makurdi, have lost about 21 parishes. Benue State, as I tell you, is predominantly a Christian state. There are 4 Catholic dioceses in Benue. There are 4 Anglican dioceses in Benue, 6 Methodist dioceses, and the Pentecostal churches. And there is also the traditional church that we have in Tivland. I tell you, Benue State is 99% Christian. Benue State, as of the last census count, is 6,100,000 inhabitants. And out of this, about 2 million are living in displaced camps. Up to this moment. Some are living in government-designated camps, and the others are living with the neighboring communities. A lot of these atrocities continue every day, and one of the most worrisome parts of what is going on is that between 2012 and 2026, as I talk to you now, the government has not apprehended anybody, has not arrested anybody, has not brought anybody to justice. And so the people are left at their own peril. That is one of the most worrisome parts of what is going on in Nigeria. And these terrorists are not, they don't even pretend, and they claim responsibility of what they are doing. In 2004 in Owo, Hwande State, where a Catholic church was bombed on Pentecost Sunday, over 50 people were killed. The ISIS took responsibility. Until today, nobody has been brought to book. And so, the government, in my own conclusion, was aiding, supporting, and abetting these terrorists. First, you would ask, where do they get their ammunition? Where do they get their weapons? And why is none of them arrested? But that was a clear design by the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, who now made it possible that all the military, the police, the Air Force, and the Navy was under the control of the Fulani indigens or Fulani tribesmen. No other person was responsible the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Inspector General of Police, and everybody, all of them were Fulani extraction. And so it was difficult for anybody to find any meaning in talking with us. So we were left at our own, we could die. And gradually the genocide now was continuing every day. And it's not just in Benue alone. Every part of Nigeria. The Boko Haram, you say, these are the wanted. They wiped out the whole of Borno, northeastern Nigeria. They wiped out the whole of Christian communities because they didn't want any to exist. And so it is a gradual and calculated plan that has been going on in this country. And this is whereby we find ourselves. Between 2015 and 2025, we had about 150-something priests and nuns kidnapped, some killed, some regained freedom after ransom has been paid. Many churches have been destroyed in Nigeria. Some priests have been shot dead. But within this time, I can categorically state, no mosque has been destroyed. No imam has been kidnapped and killed. So it's a calculated plan. But then, things took dramatic turn by last year. In March 25th, 2025, I had the opportunity and privilege of appearing before the congressional hearing, which I was invited. First, I appeared in 2024, February, when Chris Smith, a Congress member representing New Jersey, sponsored a bill about religious freedom in Nigeria. I was invited through the assistance of Aid to Church in Need, and I was present and gave my presentation. That was 2024. In 2025, Chris Smith became the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee and Subcommittee Africa. He invited me. It was at that time that I think the world got to hear every detail about what went on. And my plea was the U.S. should redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern because of religious intolerance. And that, my request was answered. Nigeria is redesignated as a country of particular concern, and now a lot of activities are taking place because they are now trying to get people responsible who are sponsoring, who are supporting, and who have been carefully taking care of or sponsoring terrorist activities in Nigeria. When that bill goes through, I think a lot of good will be done. And I tell you, as we talk now, many of you must have heard about the Yellow Water killings in June 2025. After I made my presentation in 25th of March 2025, by May 2025, my village was attacked. 22 people were killed. The priest was shot, had a broken leg. He's recuperating now. And the nuns who were taking care of the clinic and the secondary school in my village will have to close places because they ran away for safety. And we have not reopened the clinic up to this moment. June of that year, June 14th, 13th, and 14th, there was a terrible massacre where people were roasted, and that in Yellow Water, which is one of my places in the diocese. Yellow Water, the people who have taken refuge in the settlement whereby you have the police and the army as a joint patrol team, the people came for 3 to 4 hours, put fuel, burnt people in their sleep. Over 278 people were burnt to death. The Holy Father, Pope Leo, spoke about that on the 15th of June and condemned it. That was the very first time the President of Nigeria visited Benue State. That was 19th of June 2025, because the Holy Father spoke. This is our reality, and this has led a lot of people displaced. Children are now in the camps. Hospitals have been burnt, destroyed, schools have been destroyed, and the villagers cannot have access to their homes because these terrorist Fulani herdsmen are occupying those places. They can't go back to their farms. And my prayer every day is, let my people go back to their homes. The government comes with a policy, we want to relocate those, to resettle them. Resettlement is not the issue. One of the easiest ways to disenfranchise anybody and to make him a vagus is to relocate him. And for us, in Africa and Nigeria, land titles are very important. These people are farmers. If we relocate them and give them houses elsewhere, how would they be able to sustain themselves? Who takes care of them? They are not civil servants. So where would they get the land to cultivate and live their lives normally? These are people before then, before this crisis, never asked anybody to take care of them. They were managing their lives. And my request is, let them go back to their homes. Because if we relocate them, who takes care of the places they have left? So it's a clear way of having to concede the land to the invaders, and it will not be done. It will not be done. In this situation, we have children who are of school age who can't access education. The government is doing basically nothing over the situation. So, this is the reality of what I see every day. For the past 11 years, I became bishop. Somebody asked me today, did you imagine or envisage that if you became bishop, this is what you will face? Not even in the least, because I didn't know I would be a bishop in the first place. Nobody campaigns for being a bishop, to the best of my knowledge. It came as the power of the Holy Spirit, and I came and found my situation in this crisis. And of course, I cannot keep quiet. That is why I'm happy that every moment opportunity to let the people know, Orlando, this is the reality of what is happening. It's not just only Benue. It's happening in Taraba State, it's happening in Nasarawa State, it's happening in Plateau State, it's happening every part of Nigeria. As I'm here for the past 2 weeks, there was this attack in Kwara State where over 170 people were killed. Coordinated attack of many villages, and nobody is arrested. You begin to wonder, what is the police doing? What is the Nigerian army doing? So, my dear brothers and sisters, we have had these challenges with us, but then we cannot abandon the responsibility given to us by God. And so, We ask for your prayers, first and foremost, because prayer, they say, is the key to every situation and problem we find ourselves. We ask for your prayers constantly and know also that this is what is happening to the Christian faithful in Nigeria. And secondly, we ask for your support. The first support is about advocacy. You have Congress members whom represent you and who listen to you. Let them, ask them about this reality, whether they know it about it, and what are they saying. Because the world is a village, community of nations. For instance, you can't say, because maybe a man is beating his wife every day. No, it's a family problem. I will not get involved. When he kills the wife, he will now turn to the neighbor. And like if keep quiet, it continues. And so the world, under United Nations Charter of Human Rights, has the right to stop any nonsense going on in the world. The rule of law has to take place. And that is what we want you to voice out. Let our cries be heard, and let people know exactly that this is not accepted anywhere, any place. We have the right to live as human beings. We have the right to worship God the way we want. And we're not begging anybody for that. Because this has not been the situation before. And because this ideology of making Nigeria an Islamic state has been sold and everybody wants to keep quiet. Many of our leaders want to be politically correct. Political correctness is what is destroying humanity. That has to stop. So I pray also, in this situation we have a lot of crisis situations, education, health, the basic means of life, and the basic necessities of what human beings have to grow. This has given a lot of challenges to especially the gay child. We are trafficking, organ harvesting, and a lot of misuse of these children. Child labor is going on. And sometimes we have no control. It's part of the crisis we have to. But we pray and trust that God in his goodness surely will attend to the people of God. And we pray that our faith will continue to remain to be strong. And of course, there are big elements of the growing faith in Nigeria. Because churches are there full, that is true. We have vocations coming up in Nigeria as a diocese and also other parts of Nigeria. Because I know, somebody said there is no atheist in a sinking ship. You must believe in something when the ship is sinking, whichever God you believe in. So at this moment, people turn to God and pray for salvation that is going to come. Our hope remains to be in God, and our hope will not be in vain. Thank you very much, and may God bless you and bless our country, Nigeria, and bless each and every one of you today. I will leave this document here, but the pictures here are too bad. If you have to watch, viewer's discretion is taken, but they are too bad. I gave a copy to Bishop Thomas, and I think he made a comment that he never imagined it was like that. But I'm happy so. So we have this, but this is just a little presentation for you to know. Every day we are going on with this crisis, but I believe that if this church sits together and pray for this singular intention, surely heavens will be stormed and God will listen to us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Two things the bishop didn't say to us. One, that he's a very courageous man. He's got an uncommon courage. This message wasn't heard anywhere. When he began to talk about this, the government shut him down. The leadership of the church in Nigeria said, "Don't talk." And he stood on the altar and said, "What is the value of being quiet when my people are being killed? I don't care if they're going to shut me, but they can't shut my mouth." So he's insisted and taking the message to the world. He has refused to be quiet. If the United States is interested in what is happening in Nigeria today, it is because of this man. Courageously, he stood by the truth. His brother Bishop said, "Keep quiet." He said, "No." As I talk to you, when he's flying out of Nigeria, he uses a small airport that nobody knows is flying out. Flies in and tries to get home quietly because it's become a target. It is important that this message goes on. The second thing he didn't say is that he gets up every day and right in his front stares hungry people who have nowhere to turn to. The government doesn't care. The government is hiding their plight so the world doesn't know something is happening like that. The governor of our state is a reverend father. He left the altar, went into politics, contested, won the election. And because he wants to run for a second term, he denies that anything like this is happening. Until the bishop came and the American Congress sent a delegation to Nigeria, to his diocese, to see things for themselves. All of them stood there and were shedding, they were crying. So he stands, he's a man full of courage. He's a prophet of our time. And when we spoke with the bishop on Tuesday, the bishop said he should come back and he's going to give him a couple of parishes in the diocese, including Pasco, to ask for support and help to go and to feed the hungry. Jesus said, "I was hungry, you gave me food." I have a short summary for the Hispanic community, and I'm going to ask you to be patient so that I can just summarize what the bishop said, maybe in 6 minutes. Tengo resumen para una charla del obispo. Permítanme comenzar con una pregunta muy sencilla. ¿Cuántos conocen la persecución que sufren los cristianos en Nigeria hoy? La persecución cristiana se refiere al sufrimiento y la violencia que las personas enfrentan por su fe. Asesinatos, secuestros, conversiones forzadas, destrucción de iglesias, restricciones al culto y discriminación. Esto no es algo lejano ni del pecado. Está ocurriendo ahora mismo. Nigeria es el país más poblado de África, con más de 200 millones de habitantes y más de 250 grupos étnicos. La población está casi dividida entre cristianos y musulmanes, aunque la Constitución garantiza libertad religiosa. La realidad en muchas regiones es muy distinta. Desde 1999, 12 estados de Nigeria han implementado la ley Sharia junto con tribunales civiles. En estos estados existe una policía religiosa que regula la vida diaria, comportamiento, lenguaje, vestimenta y prácticas religiosas. En algunos casos, acusaciones de blasfemia han terminado en violencia extrema y castigos brutales. A menudo se explica esta violencia como conflictos por tierras o clima entre pastores y agricultores. Sin embargo, muchos líderes locales afirman que la realidad es cada vez más religiosa. Grupos extremistas del norte han atacado durante años iglesias, escuelas cristianas, comunidades enteras. Su estrategia busca crear miedo y desesperanza, destruir la economía local, cerrar escuelas e iglesias, forzar desplazamientos masivos. Sacerdotes y religiosas son secuestrados con frecuencia y en muchos casos asesinados incluso después de pagar rescate. Esta crisis tiene décadas de historia. En 1989 se proclamó la Declaración Islámica de Abuja, que promovía la idea de convertir Nigeria en un Estado islámico. A partir de ese periodo, la violencia comenzó a intensificarse. Acontecimientos importantes, disturbios religiosos en los años 80 con miles de muertos, protestas violentas exigiendo un Estado islámico, destrucción de iglesias en varias ciudades, bombas en iglesias el día de Navidad del año 2011, secuestros masivos de estudiantes, ataques a iglesias durante la misa dominical. El grupo terrorista Boko Haram ha causado la muerte de más de 30,000 personas y desplazado a más de 3 millones. Muchos sacerdotes han sido asesinados o secuestrados en los últimos años. Entre los grupos responsables se encuentran Boko Haram, ISWAP, bandas armadas, milicias extremistas. Aunque tienen distintos nombres, sus ataques siguen un patrón similar y afectan principalmente a comunidades cristianas. El estado de Benue es un ejemplo muy claro. Es una región mayoritariamente cristiana y ha sido atacada repetidamente desde finales de los años 90. Comunidades enteras han sido destruidas, familias han huido de sus hogares, millones viven desplazados. Hoy, 19 de 23 áreas del estado han sufrido ataques. Más de 2 millones de personas viven desplazadas. En un solo ataque en 2018, más de 73 personas murieron en un día. Sacerdotes fueron asesinados mientras celebran la misa. La situación es extremadamente grave. Más de 2 millones de desplazados internos, cientos de iglesias destruidas, escuelas y hospitales cerrados, comunidades viviendo en campamentos improvisados. En estos campamentos falta comida, agua potable, atención médica, educación para los niños, apoyo psicológico. Muchas familias duermen sin colchones ni refugio adecuado. Solo en el año 2025, 261 personas fueron asesinadas, 42 personas fueron secuestradas, más de 137 resultaron heridas. Detrás de cada número hay familias reales. Existe una gran preocupación de que Nigeria pueda entrar en un conflicto religioso aún más amplio si la violencia continúa. Esto no es solo un problema local, es una crisis de derechos humanos que afecta al mundo entero. A pesar del sufrimiento, la Iglesia continúa ayudando. Educación para niños desplazados. Educar a un niño cuenta aproximadamente necesidades urgentes. Las familias desplazadas necesitan comida y agua, refugio, atención médica, colchones y cobijas, mosquiteros, apoyo psicológico. Se dice que el mundo no será destruido por quienes hacen el mal, sino por quienes ven al mal no hacen nada. El objetivo de este mensaje no es provocar miedo, sino crear conciencia y solidaridad. Esta crisis trata de libertad religiosa, dignidad humana, derecho a vivir en paz. Millones de personas necesitan esperanza. Muchas gracias por escuchar.